Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into something, well, pretty fundamental for all of us. Personal financial planning.
That's right.
We've got some really great material here that it goes beyond just looking at your bank balance. It's more about the bigger picture, securing your financial future.
Exactly. You can think of personal financial planning as like your roadmap. It's about making sure you have enough resources, money, basically both for now and down the line.
Okay.
Enough to cover your needs and, achieve the things that matter to you. It means really looking closely at all your income sources.
Right, like your salary, maybe a side business, investments.
Precisely. And then managing it strategically.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. Yeah. Because it's easy to think, hey, I earn a decent amount, I save a bit, I'm probably okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the information we've looked through really drives home that, well, life happens, right? Unexpected things crop up.
Absolutely. You've got the surprise medical bills, or maybe saving for big goals like your kids' education, buying a house.
And definitely planning for retirement. That time when maybe your income drops or stops completely.
Yeah, and to make this really concrete, let's think about this example we came across, Vinod. He's 40, earns roughly, say, $2,500 a month, saves about $500.
Okay.
And he's got some investments, some insurance. Sounds pretty good on the surface.
Seems like a decent start, yeah.
The material we reviewed brings up some really vital questions that financial planning helps someone like Vinod answer, and honestly, questions many of you listening might have too.
Right. Like, okay, if Vinod's income suddenly vanished tomorrow, does he have an emergency fund? Something to get him through.
Good question. And what about life insurance? If the worst happened, is his current cover really enough for his family?
And health insurance, too. Could one big illness just wipe out everything he's saved?
That's a scary thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
And has he actually sat down and figured out, how much specific future things will cost? Does he know how big his investment pot needs to grow to meet those costs?
And the big one, is he actually saving enough right now?
Yeah, is that $500 a month going to cut it? Does he need to maybe trim his spending or find ways to earn more?
Where should he even put the savings he does have? And what about the wealth he's already built up? Is it working hard enough for him?
And what about risk? How much is he comfortable taking? Is he managing it properly?
And maybe the most complex bit are his savings and investments still the right fit as his life changes? Income goes up or down, expenses change, goals shift.
It's definitely a lot to juggle.
It really is. And that's precisely where financial planning comes in, according to our sources.
Exactly. They define it as a process. It's about bringing order to all those moving parts, your income, expenses, assets, debts.
Getting a clear picture.
Yes, a clear framework, not just for today, but really focusing on the future. It's not just a one-off checkup.
No, it's about setting those important goals first, and then making a practical plan to actually get there, seeing the whole financial you.
And what's really interesting is just the sheer number of financial products out there now. Stocks, bonds, funds, insurance. It can be, frankly, overwhelming.
Totally. How do you even start?
Well, that's the point the material makes. Not every product is right for everyone. It emphasizes you often need some expert guidance to sort of connect the dots.
Between the products and your actual needs.
Exactly. A good financial planner understands both sides, the market dynamics, and your personal situation, your goals.
Okay, and this leads to a really key distinction our sources highlight. Financial planning isn't quite the same as just getting financial advice.
No, it's different. Think of it like this. Getting advice might be like asking, hey, should I buy this stock? Quick, specific.
Right.
Financial planning is, it's much broader, more strategic.
So it's the whole map, not just directions to the next town.
Perfectly put. Financial planning is this comprehensive journey, and it puts you, the client, your needs, your dreams, right at the center.
Whereas standard advice might just focus on one thing, like here's a good investment or let's sort out this debt.
Exactly. Financial planning looks at the entire landscape of your financial life, how everything fits together.
So it's holistic versus maybe a bit piecemeal. And the material we looked at really hammers home that setting clear goals is absolutely fundamental.
It is. It's not just about making your money grow. It's about making it grow for a reason, for those goals you set.
And planning makes sure all your financial activities are pulling in the same direction. Right, not canceling each other out.
That's a crucial point. For instance, a plan would ensure someone nearing retirement isn't suddenly taking huge risks with their investments.
Because they don't have time to recover if things go wrong.
Precisely. Getting isolated advice on just investments might totally miss that bigger picture risk.
Okay. What else makes planning different?
Well, proper financial planning has monitoring built in, regular check-ins, adjustments as needed, life changes. Your plan needs to adapt.
So it's not static.
Not at all. And the recommendations are tailored. They consider the potential return, sure, but also your comfort level with risk. It's personal.
Yeah.
And finally, it's an ongoing effort.
Right. Okay, so we're getting a good feel for the overall concept. Our sources then kind of outline the scope, what financial planning actually covers.
Yeah, it's about managing your personal finances effectively for short-term stuff and the long haul. And it covers quite a bit of territory.
Like what specifically?
Okay, so we're talking personal financial analysis that starts with goal setting and prioritizing. Then cash flow management and budgeting, the day-to-day money stuff.
Okay.
Insurance planning, super important for protection. Debt management and counseling, keeping borrowing sensible. Investment planning and asset allocation, growing your wealth.
Makes sense.
Then there's tax planning, being efficient there. Retirement planning, a huge one. And finally, estate planning, thinking about the future transfer of assets.
Wow, okay. That's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
Let's dig into that first one. Personal financial analysis, starting with the goals.
Right, goal setting. And the material is clear. Just saying, I want to be rich doesn't really cut it.
Not specific enough.
Exactly. Effective goals need to be SMART. That acronym stands for specific, measurable, achievable, or realistic, and time-bound.
SMART goals. Okay, give me an example.
So instead of be wealthy, a specific goal is have a retirement income of $60,000 a year starting when I turn 65.
Much clearer.
Or instead of save more, a measurable goal is invest $1,000 every month. The achievable part means setting realistic targets based on your situation, and time-bound gives you that deadline, that urgency.
Got it. Smart. And because, let's face it, most of us don't have unlimited money.
Definitely not.
We have to prioritize these goals, right?
Absolutely. Prioritizing is key. Our sources really stress that the essentials, things like your kids' education, your own retirement, should usually come before, say, splashing out on a fancy car upgrade.
Even though the car is more fun right now.
Exactly. It's tempting to focus on the short term, but neglecting those long-term goals, especially retirement, well, the consequences can be huge later on, particularly when you factor in compounding.
Yes, compounding. Let's talk about that, especially with those long-term goals like retirement and education. Our sources mentioned these often get pushed back.
They do. People tend to focus on what feels urgent now. And with retirement, there's often this assumption that, oh, my work pension or provident fund will be enough.
But often it isn't.
Very often it isn't, especially with increasing lifespans and healthcare costs. Compounding is basically your money making more money. The earnings your investments generate then start generating their own earnings.
Like a snowball effect.
Exactly. Over decades, that snowball effect is massive, way more significant than just the money you put in regularly. Delaying starting your retirement savings, even by, say, 10 years, it can make a dramatic difference to your final amount because you lose all that compounding time.
That's powerful. And this is where an advisor comes in.
Yes, the research suggests a good planner will actually show you the numbers. They'll project things out and demonstrate that potential shortfall between your current savings track and what you'll likely need.
Kind of a reality check.
A necessary one sometimes. The goal is to motivate you to save enough while you're still earning to ensure you can have a comfortable retirement. It's about making that future need feel real right now.
Okay. But what if someone looks at their goals, looks at their budget, and realizes they just can't afford everything right now?
That happens, and the material talks about staggering goals in that case. Maybe you can't buy the bigger house and save aggressively for retirement and take fancy holidays all at once.
So you adjust the timing.
Exactly. Maybe buying that house gets pushed back a few years until you've saved a bigger down payment or your income increases.
Yeah.
Maybe the big annual vacation becomes a smaller trip for a while. You review the discretionary stuff.
But some goals have fixed deadlines, like you mentioned kids' university fees.
Right. You can't really delay those. And our sources acknowledge that. In those cases, sometimes taking on debt prudently, like student loans, is a necessary tool to bridge the gap.
Okay. Let's shift gears to cash flow management and budgeting. This sounds more like the day-to-day stuff.
It is. It's about planning your income and expenses month to month, making sure you actually have money available when you need it, and ensuring you're generating savings.
And you can run into trouble, even if you technically earn more than you spend.
Absolutely. The timing matters. If you have a big mortgage payment due on the 1st, but you don't get paid until the 15th, you might have a cash flow crunch, even if your monthly income covers all your bills overall.
And that might force you into borrowing short term,
Yes, maybe using a credit card or overdraft, which can be really expensive with high interest rates.
eating into potential savings.
Exactly. That's why a budget is so useful. Our sources define it simply as a list of your expected income and outgoings with timelines attached.
So you know what's coming in, what's going out, and when.
Precisely. It gives you that clear picture of your financial pulse, really. Helps you see if you're actually managing to save consistently. The material really encourages everyone listening to try creating a personal budget, even a simple one.
Something many of us probably avoid.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, insurance planning.
Right. Insurance. The material describes this as a crucial way to handle those unexpected curveballs, the big expenses that can totally derail your financial plan.
Like medical emergencies or accidents.
Exactly. Insurance is basically about transferring that risk. You pay a relatively small, regular amount, the premium, and the insurance company takes on the risk of a much larger potential loss.
And there are different types.
Lots of types. Life insurance is key for protecting your family's income if something happens to you, disability or death. Within that, you often hear about term insurance, covering a set period versus whole life, which is lifelong and often includes a savings element.
Which one is better depends on the person.
Very much so. It depends on your needs, your budget, your goals. Then you have health and accident insurance for medical bills and potential lost income if you're ill or injured. And general insurance covers property, your house, your car.
So the planning part is figuring out what risks you face, how big the potential financial hit could be, and then choosing the right kind and amount of insurance cover.
That's the essence of it, yes.
Okay. Debt management and counseling, that's a big topic.
It is. And the sources make a clear point. Borrowing is essentially spending your future income today.
Which means less capacity to save later.
Right. It impacts your future flexibility. They also draw a useful distinction between borrowing for assets that might grow in value, like a house, which could appreciate and maybe even generate rent.
Versus borrowing for things that lose value, like a car.
Exactly. A car usually depreciates and has ongoing running costs. It's not necessarily bad debt, but it's different from investment debt.
So the advisor's role here is to help you figure out, is this borrowing sensible? How much can I really afford to repay without crippling myself? And how do I manage it all to keep a good credit score?
Precisely. And the material also touches on the serious problem of debt traps when people get overwhelmed. Counseling might be needed then, potentially even looking at selling assets to get back on track.
A tough situation. Okay, moving to investment planning and asset allocation. This is where the growth happens.
This is key for actually funding those goals we talked about. It starts by figuring out how much you can realistically save and then deciding where to invest it.
And the where depends on the goal.
Yes, very much so. Are you saving for something short-term, like a down payment on a car in 2 years or a holiday next year? Or is it long-term, like retirement decades away or university fees in 15 years? The time frame dramatically affects the suitable investments.
And our sources mention this top-down idea, asset allocation.
Ah, yes. This is important. Asset allocation means deciding on the big picture first. How much of your overall investment pie goes into different types of assets? Like what percentage in stocks, what percentage in bonds, maybe some in real estate or other alternatives.
Rather than just picking individual stocks.
Right. The idea is that getting the allocation right, the mix between asset classes, is often more important for achieving your return goals and managing risks than picking the absolute best individual stock or bond. It's about creating a portfolio that matches your goals and your risk comfort level.
Interesting. Okay, what about tax planning?
Can't forget taxes. Our sources remind us they can take a significant bite out of your savings and investment returns.
Affecting how quickly your money grows.
Definitely. So a good advisor understands the tax rules. They can help you make choices that are tax efficient, considering how different income types, dividends, rent, interest are taxed, and how capital gains are taxed depending on how long you hold an investment.
So it's about maximizing your after-tax return.
That's the goal. But the sources also caution that tax savings shouldn't be the only reason you choose an investment. It's a factor to consider, absolutely, but the underlying investment quality and suitability for your goals comes first.
Got it. Now, let's circle back to retirement planning. You said it's a primary goal, but often ignored.
It really is. And the material stresses understanding two key concepts here: the time value of money and inflation.
Meaning money today is worth more than money tomorrow, and inflation eats away at its buying power.
Exactly. Your savings need to grow faster than inflation just to maintain their real value over time, which is why starting early and harnessing compounding is so critical for a long-term goal like retirement.
And choosing the right products matters here too.
Absolutely. Products aligned with that long time frame and your risk tolerance. Our sources also mention portfolio rebalancing, gradually shifting to safer, less volatile investments as you get closer to retirement age.
And then in retirement, the focus changes.
Yes. It shifts from accumulation to decumulation, or spending down. Managing your living expenses, ensuring your income from investments, pensions, etc., is sufficient and sustainable. And still being mindful of taxes on that income. It's an ongoing monitoring and adjustment process, even after you stop working.
Okay. And the last piece of the scope was estate planning.
Right. This is about planning for the transfer of your wealth after you're gone to your family or chosen beneficiaries. It involves legal aspects, paperwork, and doing it tax efficiently.
Using things like wills.
Wills are fundamental, yes. Making gifts during your lifetime can also be part of it. An advisor, often working with legal experts, can help you understand the options, make informed choices, and get the necessary legal documents properly set up.
Okay, that covers the scope. Now, to understand your financial health, our sources talked about assets, liabilities, and net worth. Can you break those down simply?
Sure. Income is your starting point, right? It fuels everything. You use it for current spending and hopefully save some for the future. Whether your income is enough depends on your expenses. Financial stability means keeping those expenses within your income, with a surplus for saving.
And loans.
Loans are liabilities. Debts you owe. They have a cost to the interest.
Okay, and assets.
Assets are what you own, what you invest your savings in. They fall into two broad categories: physical or tangible assets.
Like a house or gold.
Exactly. Things you can touch. They might appreciate, can be a hedge against inflation, but they're often illiquid, harder to sell quickly, and might need expertise to manage or value. Selling a house takes time, right?
Definitely. And the other type.
Financial assets. These are things like bank deposits, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. They represent a claim on something, are usually standardized, regulated, often more liquid.
Easier to buy and sell.
Generally, yes. And you can often invest smaller amounts compared to, say, buying property.
So net worth is
simply your total assets minus your total liabilities. Assets, liabilities equals net worth. It's like your personal balance sheet, a key snapshot of your financial well-being, and something you should track over time to see if it's growing.
Okay, that makes sense. So we understand the concepts, the scope. How does the actual planning process work? Our sources laid out 6 steps.
Yes, a structured process.
Yep.
Step 1 is establishing the relationship between you and the planner. Defining the scope of work, agreeing on how you'll work together, the fees, etc. Getting clear up front.
Good start. Step 2.
Gathering data. The planner needs comprehensive info about your finances, income, spending, assets, debts, but crucially, also understanding your goals. What are you trying to achieve? Defining those financial needs clearly.
Step 3 is analysis.
Right. Analyzing and evaluating your current financial status based on the data gathered. Where do you stand right now? Strengths, weaknesses, potential issues.
Then step 4 is the actual plan.
Exactly. Developing and presenting the financial planning recommendations. This is the action plan, what to do with your income, expenses, assets, debts, how much to save, where to invest it. Concrete steps.
Step 5.
Doing it. Implementation. Putting the plan into action. Making the investments, adjusting the budget, buying the insurance, whatever the recommendations entail.
And finally, step 6.
Monitoring. This is crucial and ongoing. Regularly reviewing the plan, tracking progress towards goals, seeing how investments are performing, and making adjustments as needed because life circumstances or market conditions change.
It really is a cycle then. Now, our sources brought up an interesting point about advice versus execution and potential conflicts of interest.
Yes, this is important for people to understand. Historically, many advisors earned commissions from the companies whose products they sold.
So if they sell you mutual fund X, the fund company pays them a commission.
Correct. And the potential conflict is that they might be incentivized to recommend Fund X, maybe because it pays a higher commission, even if Fund Y might actually be a slightly better fit for you but pays less commission. It's called mis-selling.
That doesn't sound ideal.
No. And that's why there's been a significant regulatory push in many places to separate advice from product distribution. The idea is that advisors should be paid directly by you, the client, for their advice through fees.
To align their interests with yours.
Exactly. It removes that commission bias, so their recommendations are focused purely on what's best for you.
So how does this play out in terms of different advisor business models?
Well, our sources outline a few main types. First, you have fee-only planners and advisors. Their income comes directly from client fees.
What kind of fees?
It could be a flat fee for creating a plan, an hourly rate for consultation, a percentage of the assets they manage for you, an AUM fee, maybe referral fees sometimes. Critically, they typically don't take commissions from products specifically to avoid that conflict. Regulations often enforce the separation now for individual advisors providing advice.
Okay, fee only. What else?
Then there are execution-only services. These are platforms or brokers whose main job is just to carry out your instructions, buy this stock, sell that bond. Their income usually comes from commissions on those transactions. They might also execute trades based on advice you got elsewhere.
So they're not providing the advice themselves usually.
Typically not the primary function.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see aggregation models here too, where a central platform provides back office support and services to a network of distributors, taking a cut of the commissions they generate.
And the last model mentioned.
Wraps and platforms. These are often technology-based. They might offer standardized advisory solutions, often using model portfolios based on risk profiles. Fees can be charged directly to the client and sometimes shared with an advisor who uses the platform to serve their clients.
So a few different ways advice and execution can be structured.
Definitely. It's good for consumers to understand how their advisor's compensated.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive on personal financial planning, it's really clear just how comprehensive and ongoing it is.
It truly is. It's not just about getting rich quick. It's about strategically managing your whole financial life. Planning helps you reach your goals, big and small, and protects you against those unexpected bumps in the road.
Yeah, it touches on so many aspects of life, and we hope this discussion encourages you, our listeners, to think about your own situation. Are you setting clear goals? Do you know where your money goes? Are you protected with insurance? Managing debt well? Investing thoughtfully?
Are you planning for retirement? Even thinking about estate planning down the road. It's a lot, but taking it step by step makes it manageable.
Definitely. And perhaps getting professional help could be valuable for many.
It certainly can be.
So that leaves us with a final thought for you to mull over.
Considering how much life can change, new jobs, growing families, economic shifts, and how finances constantly evolve, how often should you really take that deep dive into your own personal financial plan to make absolutely sure you're still on the right track towards achieving what matters most to you?